All right, we're reviewing a hand that's titled Insane Hero Call. So let's take a look and let's see what happens. So this is an MTT hand. Looks like in a $30,000 tournament at the final table. Blinds 50, 100. Okay. And small blind versus big blind. Obviously, Fedor's going to play this hand.
Small blind versus big blind. You're going to see it get folded to the spot a lot. Fedor, 5.2 million.
240.
Raising chips into Viktor Kudanov. I'd be scared to raise into Kudanov. We know he's capable of many things. 10-9 officer, definitely going to be a defense position. Guy's going to try to pick on you.
King, queen, deuce doesn't hit either holding in terms of a pair, but Kudanov does pick up the gut shot straight draw.
So Fedor checks here, which is totally reasonable. He could c-bet here, especially considering the pressure he can put on Kudanov in a spot where he just can bet 3 streets on some runouts. Obviously, his hand is total shit. And if Kudanov bets, I assume he's just going to obviously snap muck his hand. So check is fine too. Like, he can still get into a situation where, you know, if the right cards flip off, that he might, like a 3 or a 5, I would say would be best, that he might just go bet, turn, jam, river. Obviously, that's not going to happen because it's supposed to be an insane hero call. But let's have a look.
So he actually checks as the pre-flop raiser. Kudanov wondering, didn't see bet this king, queen, deuce. Interesting.
Check by Kudanov is totally fine here. Totally standard.
King, queen, deuce. Interesting. Take a free one off. There's the king. Seems like a good spot to start stabbing. Fedor Holz.
175.
175. Just enough to just fold out some random hands.
So Fedor bets 175 on the turn here. That's a pretty small bet, so I see why Kudanov would want to call in this spot. I think his call is totally fine. Obviously, I mean, yeah, Fedor's bet is really small here. So if I'm Kudanov, I want to call my gut shot too. Your 10 or your 9 are probably live as well, so that call's totally fine.
Now Viktor here is going to be thinking, am I getting delayed c-bet often enough? Wow. Calls with 10-9 high.
I mean, obviously he does have the draw to the straight, but this is equal parts. Let's make the straight, and equal parts, let's see whether or not I face another barrel on the river.
You would expect a lot of ace-x to reshove on his open pre-flop with the 20 big blind stack. You would expect pocket pairs to reshove pre-flop. So most likely Fedor thinks that Viktor Kudanov has a queen. The question is, does he think that hand would fold? And he's betting this kind of size that looks very milky. It does look credible for an ace.
Sure does, and I think this may be the end of the road for Kudanov with the 10 high.
So this bet by Fedor holds before Kudanov does anything. This hand is getting really interesting now. This is really intriguing to me. So Kudanov in this spot doesn't have, in my opinion, any aces. I think any ace should have been rejammed pre-flop, and he doesn't have any pocket pairs, because any pocket pairs would have either 3-bet or rejammed pre-flop. Maybe he could have a hand like aces or kings, you know, or yeah, something like that flatted. But as far as like the lower and mid pocket pairs, he's just always going to jam those. As far as aces, I think he's probably always going to, for the most part, jam any ace here, because Fedor is going to be opening any 2 cards. So this spot throws me off a little bit.
This is some power poker. Has he got it in him to make a play trying to represent the king?
You know, it'd be even sexier than making a play is flatting with 10 high. You know that, right? Flatting with 10 high would literally be the sexiest thing I've seen at a Triton so far, and we've seen some very sexy plays.
Fedor can have a lot more stronger hands. Like, he can have the ace kings, the ace, you know, the ace queens, he can have aces, period. And he can have, you know, sets and, you know, full houses, all that stuff. And Kudanov, for the most part, can't. He can have a king. He can definitely have a king here, but he's very capped. But the thing is, Fedor also has tons of air here as well, right? Because he's opening any 2 cards. So when Kudanov calls the turn, his range is going to be, let's say, for example, a king, a queen, jack 10, jack 9, 10-9, and hearts. That's basically it. There's going to be nothing else in that range for the most part. Maybe he flats a couple of aces. I don't know. I don't know the exact stack sizes of everyone at the table. But for the most part, I would think that an ace is going in. Like, you would have to just assume every ace is going in pre-flop. So Kudanov's range is quite strong, and I don't think he'll ever fold a queen in this spot. So Fedor holds his bluff here. I feel like an all-in bluff is just better here, because that puts Kudanov in a situation where he's probably just going to call a king and he's going to fold everything else. Well, he'll call jack 10 as well. But maybe not even an all-in, but like, I just think a bigger bluff is necessary here. I think Fedor has just too much air in his range. I think a hand like 6-4 with no heart is the hand you want to take. If you have big bets here, 6-4 with no heart here is the one. So I would be betting a lot bigger. So it looks like Kudanov has 1.9 million behind, and this pot was 950K-ish before he put this bet in. I would have probably either bet all in or 1.4 or 1.5 million in this pot if you're going to bluff. And if I wasn't going to bluff, I'd probably shut down. Honestly, I'd probably shut down here. But I wouldn't shut down with this hand. See, I would shut down other hands. Like, for example, if I had a 9 in my hands, for sure I would shut down with a 9 in my hand. Or if I had a heart, I would shut down. Yeah, this spot, I just don't think it's the best small bluffing spot. I think you got to go big or you got to shut down. Because Fedor has so many bluffs, right? He has so many bluffs, and Kudanov can't have that much air. He just has hearts, 10-9, jack-9. That's the air part of the range, right? The rest of it is going to be a king or a queen or jack-10. So, and it also depends. Like the thing is, you know, Fedor can't guarantee that Kudanov is going to call 10-9, jack-9 on the turn here, being that there could be a lot of pressure put on him on the river with ICM and stuff. I still think you can be fairly confident he's going to play jack-9, 10-9. So I think, you know what? I'm talking myself into this bluff sizing by Fedor being fine. I might go smaller or bigger. That's what I'll leave it at. That's where I'll land on. I might go smaller or bigger. Like, because the hands that he's folding out with this size, I think can bet 240 or 250 and get the same done. He's still going to get jack 9, 10, 9, and all those hands to fold out if he bets 240 or 250, and he's never going to get a queen to fold. I don't think Kudanov would ever fold a queen to 390, and I don't think he would ever fold it to 240 either. So I think you get the same range to fold if you bet 200, 230, 240, 250, something like that, just a smaller bet. Or if he wants to target the queens, he can go really big and do what I said. Either you can go all in or bet something like 1.5 million here, 1.4 million. That puts like Kudanov in a situation where he's absolutely disgusted. And if he calls and he loses that pot, you know, he's going to be in a very bad situation. Like, I think the majority of his range is going to be a queen. So, yeah, that's the way I would play it. I'm either betting smaller or I'm betting a lot bigger in Fedor Holz's shoes. I'm not a big fan of the sizing that he chose here.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's going to the time bank.
No
Randy.
way.
Oh my God, is he going to do it?
No way. 10-9 high. Battling the 6 high. Going potentially a call.
I mean, this hand also, I mean, if he really wants to just go crazy, this hand does make for a good all-in bet here. But the problem with it is Kudanov shouldn't really have all-ins here. Unless, yeah, he really shouldn't have any raises here, actually, at all. So I take that completely back. He shouldn't have any raises here, really. Unless he has king-queen. If he ever has king-queen flatted pre-flop, I guess he could. Because that's the only hand I can see raising here would make sense in this portion of the tournament where there's ICM pressure on him. King-queen would be the only hand. I don't think he would ever go for a raise with like King Jack or King 10 unless it was like a huge leveling play. And yeah, I take that back. I don't think he should have any raises. But like if he does have King Queen suited and King Queen off flatted pre-flop and he needs like a combination to raise with, this is a pretty damn good one, you know. So this is a pretty damn good one because the 10 blocks Fedor Holz from having Jack 10, and the 9, in my opinion, unblocks all the bluffs from Fedor Holz. I don't think Fedor Holz would bluff with a 9 in his hand here. Again, that's just my opinion. I don't think he would, because I think a 9, like Jack 9, 10, 9 is what he's trying to fold out a lot of. So I don't think he would bluff a 9 in his hand. So a hand like 10, 9 for Kudinov just seems like a good spot for him to, if, like I said, he ever has King Queen in his range. If he doesn't have King Queen in his range, like let's say if he's just 3-bet jamming King Queen pre-flop always here, then that's a whole different ballgame, and you can't really bluff anything.
You see, something doesn't add up for Kudinov here.
Yeah, something.
There's an odor in the air here.
So you checking that flop of a king? I don't believe it. You betting that small of a king on a turn.
Oh my God. Did he just call with 10 high?
Wow. Show everyone. This 10-9 high is sick. Sick.
Oh
sick,
my
sick.
goodness.
Just keep nodding your head, Fedor. That is unbelievable.
I'll tell you what. If there's one thing that could have happened
No slow rolling.
that would really gut punch Fedor and make him rethink what's been going on, that was it right there.
So I don't know if he bets a queen like this. So if Holz can only have an ace or a king, and Holz, let's say, for example, is probably not going to bet many aces on a turn, right? Like, you don't really expect many aces to bet on a turn. Maybe he does have a couple of aces that he bets on a turn for, call it whatever you want, maybe equity denial or just betting because he has the best hand, you know? It's possible. I don't think he has many aces, and I don't think he's going to have many kings that just check the flop and plays. Like, so I think I get it. Like, Kudinov's call, I think, is somewhat reasonable here. If you break down the hand, I think it's very reasonable. Even though it looks really wild, I think with this board texture and the fact that Fedor is playing 100% of hands pre-flop here in this kind of spot, I think it's reasonable. And he can't really go for the raise because he doesn't really have any value raises here. He's never really going to have a full house. I guess, you know, I discounted King 2. Like, if he has a hand like King 2 suited, King 2 off, I don't know if he would defend King 2 off with ICM pressure pre-flop, but yeah, I don't know. A hand like King 2 suited is possible. So there's that as well. I mean, now that I'm looking at it, I didn't realize that Kudinov had, yeah, he's got 2.2 million. So yeah, so if Kudinov starts to handle 2.2 million, I don't think he ever flats even a hand like King Queen. I think he's just going to reship it. So King 2 suited is possible. Everything else I said still stands. Like, he's never going to have an ace. Yeah, so that's my breakout on the hand. Even though it looks really weird, I think Kudinov's call on the river is somewhat fine. And I think it's reasonable. I think Fedor Holz's bluff is fine. But again, I would go smaller or bigger because of all the reasons I mentioned. And if he goes smaller, he can actually have queens more so in that range rather than if he goes bigger. So yeah, I don't like the Fedor size. Kudinov, I think, played this hand fine. It's just a very specific spot. I know it looks weird, but yeah, I think it's fine. Yeah, crazy enough, I think it's fine. So yeah, that's my breakdown of the hand, and I'll see you guys in the next video.